Welcome back, everybody. Another video today. I'm going to be talking about checking your so-called friends that you may have who may be narcissists. You got to check, and I don't mean like approaching them, like checking them, but you got to observe and really pay attention. I often talk about narcissists and relationship transactions, those type of settings, but I want to talk more about something that's overlooked, and that I may not speak on so much, and that's the situation of narcissist friends. These can be some of the most detrimental type of involvements, to have a friend that is actually a narcissistic parasite that is hanging on to you for what they can benefit from. And a lot of people, how you end up really having these individuals attach themselves to you is because I like to often say narcissists are along for the ride. They're there for the enjoyment or the benefit of what they're receiving from the other person. And if the ride is good, they're all in there with you. They'll go as long as you willing to or as long as you're able to take them with you. They're there for the experience, for the ride. There's not anything within them that is actually looking out for your own well-being while they're on this journey with you. Because as soon as the ride stops, they jump off and go their own way. Right? They're not going to stick around to help you get back up so y'all can continue riding. No. If they see that the ride is more than likely not going to continue, and that is it, then they are gone. Plain and simple. And one of the biggest differentiating factors of this type of dynamic is where the narcissist friend that, when you're in the position of being the narcissist friend in that type of position, you're not the nearest and dearest or the primary source. And remember, the narcissist is typically the worst with their nearest and dearest. You may not even be the secondary source of supply, where they're grooming you to possibly replace the primary. In these situations, the narcissist will use the friend as a reinforcement source, kind of like a reserve fuel tank. If you run out of fuel in the main tank, you can always switch to the reserve, and that's how narcissists use the friend of theirs, and most of you, they go undetected because you're not necessarily living with them. You're not engaging on them on a consistent, close, interactive basis. Y'all may talk all the time, but you're not living around them. You don't get to see the full perspective of what you're dealing with them. Now, the narcissist friend knows very well, though, especially if you have known them for quite some time, that you've seen the patterns in them, which can easily be identified by you. And if they were to suddenly change, and this can, and on you and become totally outside of that, this can cause a conflict. They know this. So they tend to keep the same type of role and the same type of character with the friend. It's easy to maintain that type of situation for a narcissist. They can maintain that little friendship type situation going undetected, where you don't really get to see the worst of them, where you won't be as likely to cut them off, so to speak. So typically, they like to keep the friend at a distance of knowing what's really going on in their present life. You may have witnessed them go through breakup after breakup, hardship upon hardship, and the typical excuses that follow for those things ending or going wrong. And you as the friend had always been there for them. After all, you're their friend. They're not perfect, is how a lot of you may see it, but that's your friend. Y'all may be into it or been into it with each other, but that's your friend. You know, they may disappear completely on you when they get a new source of supply, and when it fails, returns to you for emotional and sometimes financial support, and you help them because that's your friend. You've accepted them in that condition, right? And they're not in ways where you see it physically hurting you or destroying you. So you keep them around because, hey, when you want to hang out with somebody, hey, they're always there to hang out. Most of the time you're footing the bill. You know, there's never really an equal exchange with narcissists. So if you have a narcissistic friend, you're footing the bill most of the time. Oh yeah, they're always game for a good time, but you're gonna be the one that is making that happen. And most of all these cases, though, the scales are totally tipped one way. That narc friend that you are a friend to is reckless with their lives, non-progressive in their lives, and constantly in some sort of dysfunctional situation. Constantly. And you're witnessing this. But you accept them. Right? Here's the big thing, though. You got to be aware. Y'all got to be aware that association breeds similarities. Association breeds similarities. That's why you got to say, show me your friends. I'll tell you who you are. This type of situation, you have, in most cases, people who feel sorry for the individual. The sympathy is what keeps them together. You've been there countless times to help them without much expectations for reciprocation. I mean, you supported them in times where they had no food. A lot of times, you've seen where all they had for dinner was hope and sleep. That's all they had to eat. And you were there to make sure that they were, they didn't have to go through those hardships. Then when the tables turn and all of these individuals have for you is words. They don't put in the effort like you did. And a lot of times these words are cruel. You should have done this, or you should have did it that way. And I done told you this before, and I done told you that before. You give them things that can sustain their life, and they give you things to dim your light. That's how the exchange works. I want to talk about, without really getting off the subject too much, but getting drawn off the subject. But I want to talk about energy, though, within these things, in these situations. And I want to speak on energy from narcissists in the friendship capacity, at least, and see in how that drains you energetically. You see, envy and jealousy are very dense, destructive energies. And if you can imagine envy and jealousy as being dark balls filled with a substance that anything that it touches, it starts to erase or fades wherever these pieces of balls hit or are thrown at. I know many of you may have heard of throwing shade. Well, if you think about this and put it into this perspective, the person or the narcissist that envies you is filled with these balls, these dark, dense balls of energy. And these so-called friends that typically see and hear a lot of the things that's going on in your life. And you, on the other hand, being completely unaware that you're confiding in your enemy, actually, that envies you and wishes to see your downfall, you speak freely about your plans, about what's going on in your life. And you also notice that a lot of things in your life is constantly having or encountering resistance, setbacks, and sometimes complete failure. All right? You wonder, why is this? What is this happening? Why is this going on? All right? Why do I have a lot of? I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, and I keep getting stuff that's disrupting my progress, my momentum, which momentum is energy too. When you speak to envious people, especially narcissists, about your success, your achievements, how well you're doing, and then when it is actually witnessed and seen by them, you can almost be certain to expect adversities to come. Because narcissists, as I spoke about those dark balls of energy, when you speak to these type of people, the weapon is in the eyes. They load this weapon through the ears, the things that they hear, and it starts to churn up and load these little dark, dense balls of energy to be dispelled through the eyes. The narcissists, or people with envy and jealousy, they're not looking at you with praise and admiration. They're looking at you with contempt and disgust. And when they look at you and they see these things, they're firing through the eyes these balls, these dark balls of destruction. And a lot of you may not necessarily be able to see or hear envy. It's more or less received through feelings, or more subjective through the senses. Okay? And people tend to miss this with or being around these type of individuals. They're not looking at, why are things going on in my life? Well, you got to check your circle. Because more than likely, you have an imposter amongst you. You have someone that is not really there for your benefit. You have someone who is leeching off you. Right? And that's why you see envy build the more a person works on themselves to progress in their lives or to come up out of a situation. If they're leaving those people behind, a lot of times you see that envy and jealousy develop and become even stronger. This is energy. When I speak about these balls of energy from the eyes, that when they're looking at you, they are transferring that energy to you. They hear about you doing this and doing that and accomplishing this and that, and it stirs up that negative energy within them that's transferred through the eyes when they look upon you or they're hanging around you and seeing you. It's dimming your light. It's fading away the things that you are accomplishing, the things that you are building on. And this is where a lot of the issues come in at play. I said it earlier. You have to be conscious and aware of who you are keeping in your circle and who you are letting know your business. Move in silence. unless you are with somebody who is just as equally driven and have their own path, and the exchange is equal too. If you're helping them, they're helping you out just as much. There's no lack. You have to be around people who's trying to do better for themselves. You can't be around people who's being reckless and careless with their lives. Because the moment they see you developing or leaving them, you're the source that's getting away. They have to tear you down. That's just the way it works. I'm going to cut this video short. I don't want to go in too much longer. I may have to do a part 2 about this on just how extensive this energy stuff goes when you are immersed in it. But I'll leave it here for now. And I thank you for listening. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, share the videos too, and support. There's a lot of products that I have in the Dropbox. If you're interested, please support. Again, if you can. But more importantly, please use the knowledge that I am giving wisely. Have a good one.